Thank you, Daniel, and good morning, everybody. Before we start, can I just make you all aware that we are in a pre-election period with the Eastfield by-election being held later on this week. Whilst the business of the council continues, we do need to be mindful of avoiding giving an individual or a political group a platform by which they can influence public opinion in the lead up to that election. Please can I ask that all members are mindful of this during today's proceedings. Can I deal with, excuse me, apologies for absence? I understand we have apologies from Gary Fielding, is that correct? Yep. And there's no members of the executive missing. Can I welcome Councillor Lacey, who's joining us online? I think Councillor Haslam is intending to join us online, but is running late. And then in the room, we have Councillor Moore, Councillor Colling, Councillor Basterman, Councillor Pearson from the area committee. And it's always good to see members of the area committee present when we're holding one of our peripatetic meetings around the county. And I keep saying it ad infinitum now that we meet about 14 times as an executive, and nearly half those meetings are held away from County Hall. Can I also welcome Councillor Richard Foster, who will be joining the executive shortly, and also Councillor Burr. So I think that's all the attendances I need to deal with. Anybody got any declarations of interest? Mal, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will have to declare an interest on the Scarborough Sports Village item as a shareholder and also a family member who is a director. And on legal advice, I will leave the room during that debate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mal. Item 3 is exclusion of the public. There's 3 items where there are some confidential papers. As ever, it's our intention not to go into private session unless we need to refer to those private papers. Can I just ask, though, that we approve that we can go into private session for item 5, 6 and 8 if we so need to do so. So are you agreed? And I'm seeing nods around the table. Thank you. Item 4 is public participation. I understand that there is no public participation today, so that takes us straight into the principal items on the agenda. And the first one is the options for the community football pitch at the Sports Village. So Simon, can I come to you, please, to introduce it? And Mal, you'll leave the room, and hopefully we'll remember to bring you back in.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I think anybody who reads newspapers in North Yorkshire will be well aware of the issues that have come to a head regarding the football pitch at Scarborough Sports Village. And certainly the executive was very keen to make public its position fairly early on with regard to this, but this is the formal decision that we must take with regard to the issues that have arisen on the community football pitch at the Sports Village. The long and the short of it is that we anticipated having to resurface the pitch. It should have had a lifespan of 10 years. But after 7, it became very clear that it was no longer fit for purpose and indeed would not qualify to be used by Scarborough Athletic Football Club for the coming season. Investigatory work has revealed that there are major faults with the way in which it was originally put in. As members know, we are in, we hope, fruitful dialogue with the original contractors about how this is best remedied Because, of course, not only do we want it putting right, but we want it putting right as quickly as possible, because we recognise that both the community and Scarborough Athletic need to be back on this ground as soon as possible. So that is our commitment. So what the executive are asked to consider today is really the backstop position. And that is that in the event that negotiations do not produce an early resolution, by which I mean spades in the ground, really, to this. We won't let them drag on for too long, because it is imperative that this work is done and that Scarborough Athletic and the public are back using this pitch by the new season. And so, as you'll see, Leader, in the first item at paragraph 15, and this is what we have already put out, but it's very important that it is recorded, that the council commits to ensuring that the defects are remedied and the pitch resurfaced during the 25-26 football season, with a view to play commencing by the start of the 26 season at the latest. That's our commitment. And so the other matters really follow on from that. The second recommendation is that we continue in the dialogue and agree a suitable remediation arrangement, and then there are provisions made for delegation of those decisions as they come. As I say, negotiations have been going on, and I think we're at a crunch week, really. So we'll have a better idea where we are within the next week or so. And thirdly, and this is the backstop, that in the event that an agreement cannot be achieved in a timely manner, then the council undertakes the work to remedy the defects, resurfaces the pitch, and with the pitch servicing undertaken by direct award to a contractor of the MGAC framework, up to a maximum cost of 3.2 million. A great deal of money, Leader, and money we hope not to have to spend, but it's important that this executive puts in place a backstop so that we see that this pitch is back in use by the start of the 26th season at the latest. Fourthly, and very importantly, that all appropriate legal remedies are pursued in relation to the original defects, and do not fear that we will not hesitate to pursue those. And fifthly, that the pitch is resurfaced with a FIFA quality pro pitch surface to enable Scarborough Athletic Football Club to continue to play in their current league. And of course, for the benefit of others who use it, because it is very important for us all to remember that this is a well-used facility. Of course, it is the pride of Scarborough in terms of the football club, but the academy there and the many community users make great use of this facility. It's a very important facility for Scarborough residents. So I'm happy to move those recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Joe, is there anything that you want to add, or are you happy just to answer questions, if there are any?
No, happy just to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. So I've had two members indicate that they wanted to speak at this meeting, and the first one was Councillor Moore. Rich, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Myers. I'm grateful to the exec for the council's support to date of SAFC and for supporting Bridtown in their ongoing works to achieve Grade 4. I'm also encouraged by the exec members' reassuring comments this morning, especially with regards to the backstop position. But I do have some questions for the exec and perhaps for officers. Is the preferred option, that's partial excavation, installation of geogrid, drainage remediation and resurfacing, effectively a hybrid of option 1 and option 2? If so, how does this preferred solution address the risks of ground instability, particularly in comparison to the minimal intervention proposed in option 2? Given that option 1 includes full excavation but poses risk to surrounding buildings, what specific risk assessments have been conducted to ensure the partial excavation approach is safer? How does this hybrid approach ensure long-term stability and performance of the pitch compared to the standalone alternatives? Were independent technical assessments conducted to support this hybrid design, and what were their key conclusions? Are there any planned monitoring systems or contingency plans if ground instability continues after the recommended works? And finally, does the preferred option allow for future adaptability or phased upgrades should conditions worsen or additional funding become available? Thank you.
Thank you. What I can say is that, and obviously people will appreciate that I'm not a civil engineer, so I'm going to outline in general terms the works and the assurance that we are looking to develop around the technical solution. So, and we've done, it's worth saying probably since this report was done and the original work was done around the options, we've done significant additional work in terms of the technical options. And that has involved a range of technical specialists. And we've worked through this with the original contract as well, so that there's confidence in the solution. So we've had obviously our own surveyors through Align who have overseen the work, but also specialists, particularly soil and structures, who are experts in the field, particularly in terms of the ground instability. And I guess it's worth saying there's and we've just actually developed the stage 4 report, which sets out in considerable detail the technical solution in far more detail than is here. And in essence, that covers the issue, the key issues here are around the ground remediation, which is obviously the instability of the ground. That's a complex position. Then the drainage, which is a significant contributory factor linked with the instability. Then, of course, there's the issue in terms of the resurfacing of the pitch, and as part of that, the geogrid solution as well. So I would say that the experts that have been employed in relation to this are experts in their field and are appropriate in terms of the type of complex remediation that we are looking to develop. Obviously, we'd be happy to share further detail about that. I'm not going to attempt to talk through. But in essence, there has been significant discussions. There's been further site visits, further investigations, and actually as part of the work, there will be, it's almost like a process of kind of investigation there and then resolving as you go down and obviously see exactly what the position is. So I think we could say that we have confidence in the solution. We will be happy to share further information about that solution, but I can give the reassurance that the issue here is about solving the underlying issues. It's not about, a patch on top. It is about solving the underlying issues which relate to a complex interrelationship of factors to do with the ground, the construction of the ground instability, and the drainage. So, and the aim, and that's where the bulk of the cost, irrespective of how it's remediated, that's where the bulk of the cost is, that civils work will be done, it will be done properly, and then the pitch will be relayed on top of that.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you. Councillor Colling, please, you're next.
Thank you, Leader. I'm here today in my capacity as Chair of Scarborough and Whitby Area Committee, and I just wanted to make the Exec aware of the Area Committee's unanimous view on these issues. The committee has been regularly updated on progress towards a resolution for the issues at the Sports Village. We have had emails, an informal briefing with Joe Ireland, and more recently the committee met in public on June the 6th to discuss this matter. We were, as I say, unanimous in expressing our support for Scarborough Football Club and recognise the benefits it brings to the town. And can I just let you know, it's not just economically, but as a fan-owned club, the community it builds and generates and the wider social and wellbeing benefits that develop from that cannot be overstated. We are again really thankful to Bridlington Town Football Club for extending the hand of football friendship and being Scarborough's home pitch. We resolved to write to Bridlington Football Club to express our gratitude and thanks for their continued support. We look forward to an expedited timeframe and some updates on that in due course so that Scarborough can return back to the Sports Village as early as possible. But notwithstanding the excellent work that has moved this on, we still have concerns about how this came to pass in a new build with a normal expected pitch expectancy of 10 years, and we look forward to further details on that at an appropriate juncture. We hope the executive will support the backstop, and I wish you all every success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz. Right, any other colleagues want to speak around the table? Mark, please.
Thank you, Leader. A couple of things occur to me about this. Number one, I hope nobody ever accuses this exec again of not spending money in Scarborough, because we seem to be spending a lot of it in Scarborough. I support this. I am happy to second Simon's recommendation. It's a significant sum of money and one we would have hoped not to have had to spend at this stage. But Councillor Collin has made some valid points there. It's not just the football club itself. It's all the other groups that use it and the fact that it's become a community club, which is a very good thing. We certainly hope it's not going to cost us 3.2 million, but I think it will cost us a sum of money. I've noticed that the mayor is supportive of this, so I assume that he's also putting his hand in his pocket to help pay any bill at the end of it. But Simon will tell me whether or not that's the case. But supportive of what we're going to do here, because it's the right thing to do for Scarborough and this football club. And as I say, very happy to second it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Simon, did you want to deal with that? I mean, you can't speak for the mayor, but you might have some.
We're aware that the mayor is in fact intending to give us any money, but it's of course always nice to have his support. But I don't think support in this case means the sort of support that we're giving to Scarborough Sports Village. I think it's more vocal than financial. Always welcome, though, of course.
Thank you. And let's just be clear which mayor. It is the mayor of York and North Yorkshire, not the mayor of Scarborough Town Council. Right, Heather, please.
Thank you, Leader. I'm afraid Mark sort of stole my thunder because I would have preferred to second it as a local councillor, but no, that's fine. I think we have to keep emphasising the community part of this. It's very important. I've enjoyed hospitality at Scarborough Football Club, and it is a lovely experience. So please, if you want to really support your club, get out there and have a nice trip to Brid. Brid is a lovely place, and support the team by doing that. Because I know my husband, who can't tell what the offside rule is, but he does like to go on away matches with Scarborough. So it's a fantastic experience, and I wish them all the best in the coming season, and I will hopefully see them return for the beginning of the next one.
Thank you, Heather. Michael, please.
There's lots of talk in the room today about supporting Scarborough football team, and I just want to make a distinction here, because you mentioned that the mayor's offered his support. Well, support's fine, but as someone who goes and watches football, I always make a distinction between someone who's a follower and someone who's a supporter. Because someone who's a follower of football looks out for a team's result, wants them to do well, but watches it from afar. A supporter is someone who puts their hand in their pocket, whether that be going to a football match and actually paying into the finances, or sitting around this table today and underwriting a project that's probably going to save the football club. That's support. So whilst I welcome everyone's support, support is putting your hand in your pocket.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Anybody else want to make a contribution? If not, we can bring this to a conclusion. It's been proposed. It's been seconded at least once, probably twice. So can we have a show of hands, please? All those in favour? And that's unanimous. Can we now bring Councillor Taylor back in, please? I thought we'd lost you, Mal. Okay, let's move on, please. Item 6. Simon, back to you, please. Housing delivery.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This, rather like the last one, it's very opportune that we meet in Scarborough today to consider furthering the vehicle for delivering housing of a joint venture with Lovell Partnerships Limited. This is really building on work that was originally done by Scarborough Borough Council, who were hoping to see delivery of housing on some sites that they owned, particularly some stalled sites. Well, it's something we've taken up and run with, Leader. And I think it's fair to say, with the much wider remit of North Yorkshire Council and the greater land holdings and diverse assets, this has become perhaps a proposal with much wider long-term benefits. So I suppose people would say, well, why a joint venture? All over North Yorkshire, this council owns sites, many of which are actually in local plans, existing local plans from Scarborough to Skipton, and all points in between. And one of the problems for local authorities is it's very well to have these potential development sites, but what do you do with them? How do you see them built out? Particularly as the government in its wisdom have now given us housing targets on an annual basis for the delivery of 4,200 homes. So how do we meet that? Traditionally, councils used to simply sell their land holdings and get a cash injection. There are problems with that. And not least of the problems is that once you've sold that land, apart from through the planning process, where you have to be very careful, you have very little control over what happens. And we all know historically, don't we, that land is often sold for a very high price to people, and developers then come back to the council and say, well, we can't deliver that amount of affordable housing because it doesn't stack up economically. And councils, in order to see housing delivered on that site, end up sometimes dropping the requirements. So that is an unfortunate set of circumstances, and that's one reason why councils are hesitant about selling development land. And the second one is that where delivery is the imperative, and particularly that's the case now where we have government imposing these new huge housing targets on us. Apart from sort of awkward contracts, basically, you can't see that the site is delivered once you've sold it. And then there is the whole purpose of seeing that the council gets not only the land value and but control of development of the site and a proportion of the profits. Why shouldn't we have a proportion of the profits? These are public assets and we must get the best we can out of them. And the best we can out of them is two things. One is, of course, financial, but there is a great social value to us being involved in the delivery of housing. The opportunities it gives us as a partner in a joint venture to shape the sort of housing that goes in there, whether it's the proportion of social housing, what terms and conditions are put on it, whether it's permanent residence or a local residency clause or whatever it is. These are things we can discuss further down the line, but we have the opportunity to do those things. It is, of course, particularly of interest to this council, which has a commitment to delivering at least 500 new council homes in the next 3.5 years. I think that was it, 4 years. So for all those reasons, this seems a good vehicle. It's not to say that joint ventures don't come without risks. They do inherently have risks. But where I think perhaps if those former members of Scarborough Borough Council will forgive me, feel that this is a better proposal than that which was being worked up previously. I think that it is more balanced in favour of us as the partner. I think that the governance is stronger. I think the costs are cheaper. So I think the sort of whole management costs have been drastically reduced in this proposal. And it's something we're going to have to keep a firm eye on, but I think it does offer great potential for North Yorkshire Council, for the delivery of housing, for the realisation of assets and for the delivery of social housing, which we all see to be very important given the affordability crisis in North Yorkshire. And I'd like to really thank the officers who've done a great deal of work on this, Nick, Andrew Rowe, Hannah Hyman, and our legal team. Because I can't really say it enough, this is something they've done on top of their day job, which is managing the day-to-day running of our housing services. So it's a tremendous amount of work in something that is difficult. It's difficult to get it right, but I am fairly confident that the proposals do get it right. And I think it's important to note that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket. We're not saying this is the only means of delivery. And we're not saying we're going to put all these sites in at once. We're not. We will see how it goes. If it's not delivered against our objectives, then there will be no more sites put into this deal. So I think it's a very important development for North Yorkshire Council. I think it is very exciting. It's very important we get it right, but it does have the potential to be quite transformational for the way in which this council delivers housing and deals with its assets. It's also important to note, Leader, that this is really the first stage on this. It is not the formation of the joint venture itself. It is to approve the principle of creating that, and the final decision on the joint venture will come back to the executive. So we'll have another chance to make sure we've got it right. So I'm happy to move the recommendations at paragraph 17, Leader. That is that we ratify the previous options, appraisal and business case, approve the principle of creating a joint venture limited liability partnership between ourselves and Lovell, and for the purpose of constructing and accelerating the delivery of good quality and environmentally sustainable homes, with a focus on accelerating the provision of affordable housing and generating social value. Secondly, to approve entering into a preferred bidder stage with Lovells to form a housing delivery vehicle, noting that the formal agreement to set up the joint venture will be subject, as I said, to further executive approval. And thirdly, to approve to consult on and publish a notice regarding the disposal of open space land pursuant to section 1232A of the Local Government Act 1972. So I'm happy to move those.
Thank you, Simon. Nick, did you want to add anything at this point? Or?
I think Simon's covered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, Derek, Councillor Basterman, you were indicating, please.
Thank you, Leader. As Councillor Myers said, it's an innovative way forward. Is this for the new council, North Yorkshire Council, and I fully support the proposal and the recommendations laid out. Just like to draw your attention to one or two things, if I may. That's on page 26 of the hard copy, bullet point 3.2, 3.1, sorry. There are some sites, I know that when this was being first mooted by former Scarborough Borough Council, the sites could not be sold by virtue that they weren't going to be profitable sites. So it does concern me that there may be some sites going to the partnership that have a negative equity that must be given consideration when they go into the mixing pot for any development, profit, etc. Regarding Lovell's offer added social value through schemes such as care leavers programme, etc. I welcome that. And well, I don't know whether this is the right place to ask for this, Simon, but can we explore a condition for local housing needs, employment needs, etc., to be included within any partnership to ensure that people coming in for jobs stand a chance of getting a decent home to live in, thereby improve the economy, etc. And with the apprenticeships, it says there, in addition to the joint venture, we will facilitate upskilling and training, including apprenticeships, etc. Will the joint venture be working with the Construction Skills Village? And if it can be put into the agreement, I would appreciate that. And then just on page 32, para 11, financial implications. Right to buy, Simon, how will that affect the business case? And I don't know if it is possible, I would think it's highly unlikely, but could it be included within any sale of right to buy that we have the option of right to buy back at the discounted price plus percentage RPI increase or something on that, just an idea. Because what frustrates me is that, as former chairman of Yorkshire Coast Homes, is people bought right to buy, then sold them, then went into social housing, retirement, over 55 accommodation. And that really did frustrate me. And I know we couldn't get away with it then, but I don't know if laws changed and there could be a case study proven that we could do that to ensure that we remain a decent housing stock. I had one or two other points I would have raised Leader, but seeing as we aren't in private, they are financial, so I won't raise them. Thanks. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Derek. Simon, would you like to answer those? I think there's 3 questions there.
If I could just say on the sort of first points that Councillor Basman raised, I think they're very good points, particularly about the apprenticeships, and certainly we can look at that. I think one of the reasons why Lovells is a particularly attractive partner for us in the JVs, they have quite a good history of added social value, both in terms of apprenticeships, but also in terms of care leavers and so on, and giving people real opportunities. The right to buy is an ever increasingly complicated area of law, and the government are sort of looking at it. There have been some changes. And because I fear getting anything wrong with my director sitting next to me, I'll let him answer that bit, please.
Thank you. Through you, Leader, and thanks for those questions. So 3 substantial questions, I think. Decisions on sites, whether we mix and match land value to make something viable, or whether we just take one forward and leave something not to come forward. That will happen at future stages. So this is the preferred bidder stage, and what we'll do as the report sets out, it will work out kind of detailed kind of land appraisals against each of those sites and come back for further decision on those before they go unconditional. In terms of working with training providers, absolutely want to work with local training providers. I think the key thing to stress with this, though, is that we'll need to make sure they meet kind of key requirements, key standards, what might be required from, apprenticeship requirements, Ofsted, those sort of things. So in principle, yes, we'll work with providers, but it's always in the detail of those. And in terms of right to buy, Councillor Meyer is absolutely right. It's a complex area, but in principle, if they're Section 106 homes or homes within the HRA, we can't kind of stipulate different rules from what's set out in legislation. The legislation has tightened up massively in the last couple of years around what discounts are available. So it is slightly less attractive from this last year onwards. In terms of buyback, there are actually clauses that exist in right to buy where within a certain number of years you do have to ask the council if it wants to exercise its right to repurchase those units, but what we can't do is set the particular terms of that purchase that's laid out kind of within legislation. So we can't, in summary, yes, we can buy back, but we can't dictate different terms to what are nationally set. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Derek. And Liz, I think you wanted to come in now.
Thank you, Leader. I sit here with a slight sense of deja vu, and the process that Scarborough Borough Council went through, as you will remember, we did favour Lovell, and I was incredibly impressed by their response to the tender, and particularly their credentials, not just around local employment, but around local procurement and the circular economy and their environmental credentials. I wonder if anyone in the room could expand on what we can expect from them in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Leader. It's slightly early on at the moment to be able to set out detailed proposal on those, but it's something we'll make sure as we're bringing sites through, we have really clear performance indicators around local spend with contractors, supply chain spend, those sorts of things. And it's something we can report, whether that's through the Overview and Scrutiny Housing Committee or through local committees as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add to that, Leader, I think it's undoubtedly something that will be looked at by ONS. So members will be able to have some feeding.
Anybody else then want to make a contribution on this? Heather, please.
Thank you, Leader. I think it'd be rude not to contribute because Councillor Colling was aware of some of my reservations when this went through SBC, and one of them was that we weren't being ambitious enough.
And I now think that's been addressed. I think this is a very good step along the road. Like you say, it's just another step along that road. And I hope to see some bricks on the ground in the reasonably near future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to come in? Simon.
Could I just add, Leader, Councillor Goodrich emailed me. She wasn't able to attend today because she has another commitment. But she's very supportive of this and wanted me really to say that. She has some points about, how we focus on the delivery of social housing in this, but they are things for further down the line. But as far as what we're doing today is concerned, she's very supportive.
Thank you, Simon. If there's nobody else indicating it's been proposed, could I have a seconder, please? Heather, thank you. And can I now have a show of hands, those in favour? Okay, again, that's unanimous. Thank you. So let's move on. Simon, you again. Item 7, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. So this is our annual review of our housing performance, complaint handling and service improvement review. It's a really important milestone in the progress of this council as a stockholding authority responsible for some 8,500 council homes that it inherited from predecessor councils on the formation of the new council. As members know, we self-referred ourselves to the regulator of social housing because we had concerns about particularly the gaps in our knowledge of the data surrounding our housing, everything from gas certificates to full stock condition surveys. And in terms actually of complaints and our relationship with those who rent houses, we didn't feel it was satisfactory. And so, of course, the inspectorate agreed with us and gave us a C3 banding. And so really, Leader, this is a very important full report on the progress so far, emphasising much improvement, which is very encouraging, and holding no punches back where it concerns where we still have gaps, where we still know there's a lot of work to be done. I'd really like to sort of highlight two aspects of it. One is that we are acquiring more and more data. And as every month goes by, our figures become better. But we also know where there are gaps and the hard nuts to crack, and we must have plans in place to deal with risks where we can't exactly identify what the data is, and we're aware of that and we're on with it. And secondly, is a much better, I think, culture of communication and involvement of tenants. And the tenant panels seem to be working very well. Our communication through all sorts of different means with the tenants seems to be working well. And I think the relationship between the council and tenants is a much healthier one. And part of that is, of course, you encourage complaints. So you get more complaints because you encourage people to complain. because if people don't complain, we don't know where we're going wrong. And so it's a really important part of it. It can be very frustrating trying to deal with some of them when we haven't got it perfect. But I'd like to think we're making great progress. And if I could say this as well, and I'm so conscious of it as we produce this document, and the chief executive and I met with the regulator last week, none of this progress would be possible without the hard work of our team in housing, our officers, and actually really productive work by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. It works extremely well. They have great interest and knowledge, and they put a lot of energy into helping us address these problems. So I'm grateful to all of those, particularly the chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, who has been excellent. As I say, Leader, you know, it's good to see this report. It's good to see the progress we have made, but we must be very conscious there's a lot still to be done. And we're all going to have to work very hard at that. Fortunately, the director is somebody who, when he sees a figure of 99.8% compliance, which most of us would say, well, that's jolly good, isn't it? My director says, well, that's not good enough. So the man that's driving a lot of this is fully committed to it. So I'd like to thank him as well for all his hard work on that. Peter, you'll see the recommendation that we received this report, particularly with your attention on the areas where there is a null return. That's areas where we still don't have proper data to submit, and that we approve the submission of the information in this report to the regulator for social housing and the housing ombudsman as required.
Thank you, Simon. I attended that scrutiny committee meeting last week as well. And I would echo the remarks that you've made. I wonder, Mal, whether we should give you the opportunity as the outgoing chairman of that committee just to say a few words about its work.
Yes, thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Myers, for those words. It was a privilege to be the first chairman of that housing scrutiny group. It's an area of business that we've taken very close scrutiny, almost forensic scrutiny of it, to such an extent that we've had a task and finish group, which I have to say members of all parties have bought into. They've been really proactive. They've been out across North Yorkshire, engaged with tenants to really dig down, get under the bonnet of what the issues are so that we could feed those back in. So I'd like to pay tribute to the work that's done. It's not the only task and finish group we've got going. There's a second one underway and a third one to follow. So hopefully that work will continue with the robust approach that we've taken so far. But I think that we have made progress as a council, but I think there is still lots of work to do. And I'm confident that we will do that work and improve our offer to the residents across North Yorkshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mal. Anybody else want to make a contribution? Okay, it's been proposed. Can I have a seconder? Mal, thank you. Again, just a quick show of hands. It's only to note this recommendation. Thank you. And then let's move on to item 8, please. And Annabelle, I'll come to you, please. Schools Condition Capital Programme.
Thank you, Chair. Today's report seeks executive approval for the Schools Condition Capital Programme for the financial year 25-26. The DfE confirmed our schools allocation of £7,030,000 on the 27th of May. This allocation is for community and voluntary controlled schools only. Voluntary aided schools and academies receive their capital funding via other arrangements. And whilst the allocation is less than the provisional sum that was notified in March of nearly £7.5 million, it is higher than the allocation that was received for 24-25. North Yorkshire has 162 community and voluntary control schools, and the range of buildings by type and size is considerable, and the investment requirements associated with these are extensive. The total maintenance backlog in schools across the county continues to be significant despite the ongoing programme of planned capital work, and it is therefore important that the investment continues to be made in maintaining and preventing further deterioration in the fabric of our school buildings. The total backlog is estimated to be approximately 20.6 million, and this figure is conservative estimate, only reflecting the expected cost for repair or replacement and does not include provision for any associated costs. In addition to the requirements associated with the maintenance backlog, further planned maintenance investment requirements of approximately 62.3 million has been identified to address the conditions of our school buildings within the next 5 years. So whilst we welcome this investment from the government and are pleased to see schools in North Yorkshire will benefit from this crucial support, the funding is nowhere near enough for what we actually require. That being, it is important that investment is focused on ensuring that the most significant issues are addressed to ensure that schools continue to provide safe environments for learning. The priorities for investment were agreed by the Executive in 2022 in the School Estate Management Strategy and are listed at 5.2 in the report. Some of today's proposed programme includes provision for further work to support the amalgamation of secondary schools in Whitby, listed at 6.14, and works to address those kitchens which have been identified as having the highest priority for refurbishment, and that's at 6.15. Also, a total of 5.1 million towards planned maintenance and property compliance issues, and a further 1.5 million to meet the cost of any failures that may arise during the year. It is vital that we continue to invest in schools and educational establishments in the county, and we will continue to lobby the government for more money towards school maintenance and improvements.
Thank you, Annabelle. Anybody want to come in on this item? Mark, please.
Any money from the government's welcome, so happy to support it, Annabelle, and there's some positive news here. One thing which has irked me recently, we have a school, I won't name it, but most of you will know, there's a school near me which was academised some years ago and is now closing. And the academy is selling the land and the buildings for, well, it's going to go for housing, and it will go for, I suspect, several £1 million because it's a big plot. It seems wrong to me that we have an asset that we then give away, somebody takes it on and then sells it and we get nothing. And really, if that were the case, if that is the case, and I've been told, I don't think by anybody in this room, I've been told that is the case, but it seems wrong to me if that is, because otherwise that could have been sold and the money could be used to add to the money we've got to upgrade our schools.
So I'd have to check the detail of the school you're talking about, but in general terms, we have many schools where we don't own the asset. The asset will belong to a trust, it will belong to a church establishment, it will belong to an estate, and it's not owned by the local authority. Sometimes the land is owned by the local authority, sometimes it's leased from another organisation. So what I can assure you is on the whole, if we own building or land, we keep hold of it as a local authority. However, that's a corporate requirement, and what I would never say is that the sale of any school site then belongs to a children's capital programme. That comes back to the centre, and it's a decision by the council of where that money is best spent in its programme.
Thank you, Stuart. Anybody else want to come in? No, if not, Annabelle, would you like to move the recommendations, please?
Yes, I'd like to move the recommendations at point 13, 1 to 3, please.
Okay, is that seconded, Janet? Thank you. Okay, can we have a quick show of hands, those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. So let's move on then. Item 9, UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Mark, please.
Thanks, Leader. Some good news, we're getting £5.5 million. Some bad news, last year it was double that. The UK Shared Prosperity Fund, which now comes to us via the office of the Mayor of York and North Yorkshire, to be clear, not the Mayor of Scarborough. That fund is comes through that office, it's agreed by the combined authority as to the areas it should be spent on, and there's a list in your papers of where we intend to spend that money. So, and we have got a choice today. We can either accept the money or refuse it. I certainly know what I would do of the two. And to be clear, and I'm sure you won't need telling this, but capital money must be used for capital projects and revenue money for revenue projects. You cannot blur the two. If I had a free hand with this money, I might not expend it exactly where it's going to be spent now, but I'm sure you'll see in the list some things that you'll be happy to support and some positives. So I strongly urge you to accept the money and not to give £5.5 million back to the Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to make a contribution on this? Okay. Would you like to move the recommendation, Mark?
Happy to move the recommendation as printed.
Okay, is that seconded? Greg, thank you. Okay, so again, all those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. And let's move on then, please, to item 10. And Greg, I'll come to you for the approval in principle of the transfer to Malton Town Council of the marketplace public conveniences under double devolution. Greg, please.
Thank you, Leader. It's a mouthful, I know. When this council was formed from the predecessor district councils and the county council, we made a big deal about the fact that we were interested in double devolution. We wanted to be able to allow some of the services that are currently being delivered by those councils to potentially be offered to parish and town councils for them to run if that was appropriate and right for their communities. And since then, we've been in discussion with a number of parish councils about a number of assets that we currently control, which they would like to run instead. The toilets at Malton were an early candidate. The town council is very keen to take on those toilets. And whilst I'm responsible, or we're responsible for public toilets generally across North Yorkshire at the moment, our responsibility is it's as a discretionary service. And because times are hard and we're struggling even to meet the cost of all our statutory services, we are not able to give as much attention to public conveniences as we might like. They're a very important service. People value them. They should be there. They should be available. They should be clean. They should be well maintained. And in my opinion, they should also be free to use. But we're not able to do that as North Yorkshire to the degree that we would want to do because we simply haven't got the money available. Malton are keen to take these on. The Malton Town Council are keen to take these on and think they can do a good job of running them. I think that's entirely appropriate. And I'm pleased that we're able to bring forward this proposal, which would involve not only Malton taking on those toilets, but also receiving a sum of money, which we've been able to get hold of to refurbish those toilets. So they will get a change of management and also a capital investment as well. As part of the deal, there's a second toilet, a smaller toilet that's a few minutes walk away, and we're planning to discontinue the use of that toilet as well. So that's part of the deal we're doing. So I'm happy to answer questions if there are any, Leader. But the recommendations are as printed. At this stage, it's a agreement in principle. I think it will probably come back to you again for a final approval. By that time, the deal will have been essentially done. So really, we could do asking you questions now.
Okay, thank you, Greg. And Councillor Burr, you want to make a contribution? So please come to the table, Lindsay.
Leader Executives, I'm here today on behalf of Malton Town Council and the new Mayor of Malton. All members of Malton Town Council unanimously agreed that due to the double devolution deal, that Malton Town Council would like to take over the run-in and improve our toilets. Our council feel that this is an asset and it's very important to our town, needing an upgrade and new management. I'm grateful Councillor Greg White, who discussed this with me and was supportive. So thank you for that, Councillor White. And want to report to you that the area committee was also supportive. I do hope that all executive members can vote for the officers' recommendations to support Malton Town Council in this new venture. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Anybody else want to make a contribution? Heather, please.
Thank you, Leader. I think it's very important that we progress projects such as this, because it shows that town and parish councils do have a choice in some of the services they're able to offer. As Greg has said, statutory and discretionary is becoming more of an issue. So I think we need our town and parish councils to be brave and actually come to us with projects. We're simplifying the process, so hopefully it won't take quite so long to get to the next project. But please be brave. And Councillor, I'm very glad that I believe you're the town mayor, and that if everyone's on board, then that's a fantastic achievement. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. And Gareth, please.
Yeah, just that, first of all, I'll talk about the principle of it. Services like this are best delivered as local as possible. And I speak from some experience in the Hambleton area, where it was more or less forced, the transfer of public conveniences to town and parish councils. That worked extremely well. We have sets of conveniences that are better managed, better run by local people, for local people and tourists alike. So the principle, absolutely no problem with whatsoever, and I would furthermore encourage others to look at similar types of schemes. I'm just a little bit concerned, Carl, when we look at the process of this. We have an agreement in principle, or likely to have an agreement in principle today. Why do we need to fetch it back to this committee? I mean, could we not, if need be, add a further recommendation that would just delegate the final decision once head to terms have been? I mean, we're talking about 50 odd grand. It's it's diddly square, isn't it? Really? Could we not just get on with it?
Let's ask a man who can give us an answer.
You can choose to delegate this to the relevant officer. You could delegate it to Gary Fielding as the Section 151 officer if you're happy in principle to agree it, and delegate the final decision making to the Section 151 officer in consultation with the relevant exec member.
Well, I'll move that as an addition, and just let's get on with it.
All right, can we add that as an addition? Let's get on with it. And all the words that go with it. Okay. Anybody else want to make a contribution? If not, Greg, would you like to move that recommendation with Gareth's addition?
I'd like to move the recommendation as printed, but with the slight change. I think that we will leave it up to the corporate 151 officer in a consultation with the relevant executive member. The final decision.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So is that seconded? Yes, Gareth. Okay. So those in favour, please. Thank you. Again, that's unanimous. Greg, I think that is your final decision with us as an executive member. So can I just take this opportunity to thank you for your time on the executive, and also for the transition period that you've helped us with in the changeover. So thank you for that. Can we now move on then, please, to item 11? And I'll come to you, Michael, please, to introduce this.
Thank you, Leader. This was a late paper, so I hope everyone's received it. Quite benign on the face of it, but actually reasonably significant. For those of you that don't know, the Health Service in the country operates through integrated care boards, and we link in with 3 ICBs across North Yorkshire, but the real work takes place in what's called Place, which for us is North Yorkshire. And this paper sets out a proposal to set up what's called a Section 75 agreement, which in a sense, it doesn't pool budgets, it gives full transparency around both the NHS spend in North Yorkshire and North Yorkshire Council's spend, and it establishes a joint committee to oversee this, and it's around £590 million of aligned expenditure every year. So it is quite significant, but from our perspective, gives a level of transparency and influence over where this overall budgets are spent. So this paper is proposing setting up that joint committee. Richard Flint, our Chief Executive, will chair it, and as part of it we will propose to amend the terms of reference of the Health and Wellbeing Board for North Yorkshire that I chair, to better oversee this. One thing, two things. If there is any questions, Louise Wallace, Director of Public Health, is here to answer them. And do we get the prize for a consultation that received no responses?
Thank you, Michael. Anybody got any questions or comments then, please? Simon.
Yes, only this, Leader. I think I welcome this because it does seem to me that there may be some increased opportunities for some cross-departmental working in the council, and seeing that our more general commitment to seeing people living healthier, independent lives for longer can be met by this. So I do welcome it.
Yeah, just to say, I mean, clearly there's a benefit from unitary local government where all the services that we provided are under one roof, but by working more closely with the health sector, it does offer those opportunities and is entirely in line with the idea that we move left, as it were, back into the community, a lot of health services. So there is opportunities to be had.
Thank you. Can I bring Councillor Lacey in, please? Peter.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is to be very, very happy and very pleased to see this on the agenda. I just want to make one comment relevant to section 3.4 of the paper, which sets out the ambition in line with the government's 3 big shifts. Unfortunately, it only mentions 2, and that is my point, in that there is a 3rd shift that the government talks about in terms of moving from analogue to digital. In the provision, alignment and potentially integration, whether virtual or real, the digital side is absolutely crucial. It can harness improved value for money. I'm not suggesting at this stage that it creates savings, but certainly value for money. So I'd encourage the corporate director and others working on this to fully embrace the analog to digital shift, as well as the other 2 mentioned, which is treatment to prevention and hospital to community. And the second brief point is that I look forward to, at the appropriate time, receiving updates at health scrutiny. This is a really important development, and I think if health scrutiny can take a look periodically to encourage it and to scrutinise, that would be extremely welcome. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Would you like to respond to that, or Louise?
I'll just say I agree and noted, and we will make sure that scrutiny are involved.
Okay. Anybody else want to make a contribution? If not, Michael, would you like to move the recommendation?
Formally move the recommendations in section 13.
Okay. Is that seconded? Simon, thank you. Again, those in favour, please. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Moving on, item 12. Can I just move this from the chair? Appointing Councillor Swires to those 2 bodies, and can I also add that Greg will take up the non-exec post at Your Waste as soon as possible, and Andrew Lee will vacate it. Okay, are we happy with that? I'm seeing nods. Thank you. And then item 13, Heather, please. Anything on the forward plan we need to note?
Not really, no. We've got a couple of items that maybe could have come to us today at the coast, but weren't quite ready. So unfortunately, we won't get them to.
Okay, thank you. So can we note the forward plan? And then that brings us to the final item. Any other business, any urgent business? I have not been notified of any. So with that, can I thank you for your attendance and your contributions? And with that, meeting closed.